Hello and welcome to Flipped Maths with Mrs. D. Hoog. Today our topic is quarters, halves and thirds on a number line. And we are learning to show where quarters, halves and thirds are on a number line. Please remember to stop, rewind and rewatch the video if you need to at any point. And remember to record the learning goal on your homework sheet. So let's start off with some important information. Fractions, as we looked at in the other videos, a fraction is something that fractions represent an equal part of a whole. So of this little circle here, I've drawn the 1 and 2 lines across that have 1, 2, 3, 4 parts in one whole, and that is why I have 1 over 4, so one part is coloured of the 4 parts here. And then we're looking at quarters. A quarter is represented like this as a fraction, 1 over 4 or 1 quarter. That could also, another example could also be 2 quarters, 3 quarters and so on. Halves, just 1 over 2, that is a half. And then we're looking at thirds, and thirds represented by a number or a digit over the 3. So 1/3, 2/3, and then we have 3/3, and you can continue on getting into mixed numbers where you've got 1 and 1/3, etc. And a number line is a line with numbers put in order. And they can also have fractions number lines as well, which is what we're going to go through today. And lastly, we have down the bottom here mixed numbers. A mixed number is a number written as a mixture, hence why it has that there, mixture of a whole number and a fraction. So I've got this example here. I might write over it because it's probably hard to see on the video. So 1 and 3 quarters, that, or 1 and 3 over 4, is the same as one whole. Say for example, this is a big bar of chocolate and another big bar of chocolate, and you've eaten one whole bar of chocolate. You'll feel sick afterwards, but in this example, one whole bar has been eaten, and 1, 2, 3 parts of 4. So that's why we have 1 and 3 over 4. I guess we sort of say it like this: 1 and 3 over 4, or 3 quarters. That's how we would write it. Yeah, let's rub that one out. So that's what a mixed number is. Just another example of a mixed number is, let's say, 2 and a half. You may have heard this before. You know, oh, I've eaten 2.5 pieces of cake or something like that. That would look like this. So I would have 1, 2 wholes, because that number here is representing 2 wholes, so 1, 2, and then we've got this last bit here, the half. So if we had this circle here, we would colour in half. So this is 1, 2 and a half, 2 and a half, and that is a mixed number. Another example. Mixed numbers can also get quite large. You can have 92 and a half, and I won't have time to draw that many circles coloured in, so I'll just rub that one out. And then another one I'm just going to go through is improper fractions. Now, we've so far looked at fractions where it's 3 quarters or 5 eighths or 7 tenths, something like that. These ones are just proper fractions, normal ones. The improper fraction is a fraction where the top number is the number that's larger than the bottom number. And I'll just give an example over here that we've got 7 over 4 or 7 quarters. Now this one here, with like a picture here, we've got one whole and then we've got some parts here. What I've done is I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I hope that's quite clear. Just maybe go over it a bit more. 5, 6, 7. So that means 7 parts. That's why we have the 7 there. 7 parts, and there are 4 parts in each whole. So 1, 2, 3, 4 in each whole, and that's why there's 4 at the bottom. That's how many parts it's broken up into. And then 7 of those parts are represented here. And this is actually the same as 1 3/4 over here. Because 1 3/4, there's one hole on the 7 quarters over here, of part of it, and then we've got the 3 parts over here. They're exactly the same amount of the fractions that are coloured in, or the fractions of the wholes, or the mixed numbers, I guess you could call it. But they're just written differently. This one is written as a mixed number, and then this one over here is written as an improper fraction. I try and remember the improper fraction is because it's not proper. It doesn't look right. There's 7 parts over the 4, so that's why it's an improper one. And then over here I try and remember it's mixed. It's got a big whole numbers with the parts. It's got the fractions there. So hopefully that's making a little bit more sense now. We'll go through some examples of questions that you might get at school or any other time, I guess. For example, we've got, so this is basically looking at the number lines now, putting the fractions on the number lines. I've got this one up here, which is 4, and it's got marks in between, and then 5, and then marks further on, and then the arrows on either side of this number line. I'm just going to cover up this one here so it's a bit easier to concentrate. This one here, what it's saying is these are whole numbers 4 and 5, but there are also parts that are broken up, as you go on those increments. So straight away I can realise that in between 4 and 5 is 4.5. It's half in the middle. It's in the middle of those two numbers. So 4.5 is written like this. I wonder, do you think this is this an improper fraction or is this a mixed number? Have a think. It's a mixed number. It's got the whole number and it's got a fraction with it as well, so it's a mixed number. So now I've just got to figure out what are the parts in between over here and here. So 4 and then there's something and then half. I know there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 parts over here, the increments. So 1, 2, 3, 4 to get to 5. So I know that there is going to be out of 4 because there are 4 parts there. Now this is the first part out of 4. So I can write 1/4. This is 4 and 1/4. This is something that we always need to remember. Whatever the whole number is, it needs to continue on. 4, then it's 4 and 1/4, then it's 4.5. Now we could have written 4, instead of 4.5, you could actually just write 4 and 2/4, because the next one is 2/4, and then 3/4, so it's 4 and 3/4. And with this one here, 4 and 2/4 is the same as, 4 and 2/4 is the same as 4.5, and that is because, just looking over on our fraction wall, I know it's a little bit covered over here, but we've got 2/4, so 1/4, 2/4 is the same as 1/2 on our fraction wall here. So we could write it like that, or with the half, or with the 2/4 there. I prefer writing it with 2/4 personally, if I'm writing it like this, so I can see that 1, 2 and 3/4 going in the increments there. So now I know it's going up in quarters. I can go 5, 5 and 1/4, and then 5 and 2/4. You could, as I said before, write 5.5, because 2/4 is the same as half. It's up to you. And I've got this next one here. I'll just cover this one up. And we have 1, and then there are parts in between to get to 2. Now with this one here, to get from 1 to 2, I'm just going to see how many parts are there to get, how many times do I need to go? 1, 2, 3. And I don't start on the number 1 here because I'm counting onwards, so it's 1, 2, 3. Now, actually might draw these arrows over here. 1, 2, 3, just so it's not confusing and thinking, you know, oh, the numbers are at the bottom there. It just gets a little bit, we want to make sure it's nice and clear. So we've got the 1, the 2 and the 3. So there are 3 parts. So then I know it's going up in thirds. So here I've got 1 and 1/3. 1 and 2/3. And then we've got 2. You could also write this as 1 and 3/3. But 1 and 3/3 is the same as 2 wholes, because if we just look over at this circle here, or these 2 circles, if we have thirds, now I'm trying my very best to do accurate thirds, bear with me. If we have 1 whole and then 1, 2, 3 parts of 3/3, it's still 2. 1 whole and another whole, 2. So it means the same thing. So that's why we could write either one there. This one, number 2, would be the one to pick though, because it is the simplest one for people to know straight away, or to recognise it straight away. And now I'm still going up in thirds, so it's 2 and 1/3, and then 2 and 2/3 on that one there. So remember, when you're trying to have a go at filling in the little gaps between on the number lines for the fractions, or the mixed numbers or the improper fractions, always remember to just think, how many times do I go across 1, 2, 3 to the next whole number, from 1 to the next, and you know that's out of 3 or over 3, it's the 3 parts, just like that. So now I want you to practice on this number line here. So we've got 0, 1, 2, and then a few more lines after 2. I want you to have a go at actually recording on your homework sheet the what do you think the fraction or the improper fraction or the mixed number will be at each of these points. So having a look, I'll just move it up so you can see a bit clearer, that we have 0, to get from 0 to 1, from one whole number to the next, we go 1, 2, 3, 4. Just a little hint there. Now I've written here, write them out using mixed numbers, just like we did up here. I would like you to have a go at a challenge once you've written them all down in mixed numbers. And just remember, we've got the question here, so like 1, 2, 3. So on your homework sheet, like 1, 2, and then your answer there. Write them out using improper fractions. Just to give you a quick hint on how to work out the improper, you can just rewind that video, or I'll give you another example very quickly. Just rub that one out. If I had 2 and 1/3 and I wanted to write it as an improper fraction, I would simply just try and draw it out. This is what I would be doing if I was having trouble with figuring it out. So I know I've got 2 and a part. So I'll just draw the parts again. So we've got 1, 2, and then 1/3. So I know there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 over 3. So 7/3 are there. This is the same as this. This is a mixed number. This is an improper fraction. So I really hope this video has helped you to understand about halves, quarters and thirds on a number line, and just remember that we were learning to put those fractions or improper fractions and mixed numbers on the number line. And thank you for listening to and watching this video.